Good morning, students. Today we are going to see about the forms of organization. So we have moved on to the next chapter, that is chapter 9, government organizations, and we have also seen about the introduction and the meaning and features of departmental undertaking. We have already seen that there are three types of government organization. One is departmental undertaking, uh, the second one is public corporation, and the third one is government company. And in today's video we are going to see about government companies, and we have already learned about these government companies in the previous chapter, that is the chapters that we have already seen. Types of companies, joint stock companies. So we have seen the government companies in the joint stock companies lesson itself, chapter itself, and it will be just like going through it again. So listen to the video carefully and take notes. So now let us begin with the meaning of what is a government company. A government company is defined under Section 245 of the Companies Act 213 as any company in which not less than 51% of the paid up share capital is held by the central government or by any state government or governments. So that is the meaning of what is a government company. So you can see in this slide what are government companies. A public enterprise incorporated under Indian Companies Act of 1956 is called as a government company. So a company which is started according to the Companies Act of 1956 is called as a government company. These companies are owned and managed by the central or any state government. According to the Indian Companies Act of 1956, a government company means any company in which not less than 51 percentage, that should be very carefully noted. So not less than 51 percentage of the paid up share capital is held either by state or central government, and include a company which is a subsidiary of the government company. Subsidiary company means which is functioning under another company, a government company. So that is called as a government company. These companies are registered as private limited companies, though their management and control vest with the government. So entire management and the control goes in the hands of the government. So this should be noted. This is a type of organization where both the government and private individuals are shareholders. So both private individuals can be the shareholders as well as government can be the shareholder, but the maximum number of shares will be held by the government. That government will be either central government or state government. Sometimes these companies are called as mixed ownership companies. So another name that is given to a government company is mixed ownership company, because the owners are both the government as well as the private individuals. Now let us move on to the features of what is a government company. So it is formed under the provisions of the Indian Companies Act of 1956. These points and all can be taken for your one word, 1 mark questions. The total share capital or 51 percentage or more of the share capital is held by the government. It enjoys the status of a legal entity and therefore it can use or be sued by others. So it is a separate legal entity. So the main feature is it is registered under the Companies Act. A government company is formed through registration under the Companies Act. This already we have seen in the while we were learning about joint stock company, and is subject to the provisions of this act like any other company. So what are the rules that are given in 1956 Act or the Companies Act of 2013? It has to be followed strictly by the Companies Act. However, the central government may direct that any of the provisions of the Companies Act shall not apply to a government company or shall apply with certain modifications. So it depends on all all the rules and regulation depends on the formalities that are given by the government. So we should also know some of the examples of public corporations and their logo that are all given in your textbook. So Food Corporation of India, that is the public corporation. ONGC, Oil and Natural Gas Commission, that is also a public corporation. Tourism Corporation of India, that is again a public corporation whose headquarters is in New Delhi. So second point, that is the executive decision of government. A government company is created by an executive decision of the government without seeking the approval of the parliament or state legislature. So executive decision is very important here in this case for formation of a government company. Separate legal entity, this is another important characteristic feature of a government company. Both the company and the members, that is the shareholders, they are treated separately. Both are not one and the same. So anything which affects the shareholders is not going to affect the company here. A government company is a legal entity separate from the government. It can acquire property, can make contracts, and can file suits in its own name. So that is the third point that I have explained here. Whole or majority capital provided by government. The finance of a government company is obtained from the government and from private shareholders. The whole or the majority, that is at least 51% of the capital of a government company, is provided by the government, either central or state government. But the revenues of the company are not deposited into the treasury. So it goes to the shareholders. Majority of the government directors being in possession of a majority of the share capital, the government has authority to appoint majority directors on the board of directors of a government company. So the government being the majority shareholder, it has got the right to appoint government directors as the board of directors to govern and manage the affairs of the company. Own staff. A government company has its own staff except government officials who are sent to it on deputation. Its employees are not governed by the civil services rules. So anybody can become the government employee in a government company. They are not governed by civil services rules. Free from procedural controls. A government company is free from budgetary, accounting, and audit controls applicable to government undertakings, other government undertakings. So see here, it is not subject to budgeting, accounting, and audit rules applicable to a government department. Whereas in case of an Indian Railways, for example, it is governed by the separate ministry, railway ministry, and the minister is in charge for all the delegation of the activities there, and it has to maintain separate budget, accounting, and audit rules are applicable. So but this is not in case of government company. So it has not got any accountability to the parliament or state legislature. The annual report of a government company is placed before the parliament or state legislature. Now let us see some of the examples here. There I have shown you the Coal India. It's a logo for Coal India, and they have written the slogan there. This is a government company, Coal India Limited. So Coal India Limited, CIL, is an Indian state-controlled coal mining company headquartered in Kolkata. Its headquarters is in Kolkata, West Bengal, India. It is the largest coal producer company in the world and contributes around 81% of coal production in India. It produced 452 million tons of coal during February 2012-13 financial year 2012-2013, and earned a revenue of 882.81 billions from sale of coal. So, Union Government of India owns 90% of the shares in Coal India Limited and controls the operation of CIL through the Ministry of Coal. Coal India Limited had 357 crores 926 employees, 3,57,926 employees as on March 2013, out of which 3,04,792 were workmen and 33,542 were supervisors and 19,592 were executives. It spent rupees 273.21 billion on employee benefits, which accounted for 52.47 of its main revenue amount. So following some of the examples here you could see. So telecommunication department, BSNL, that is a public corporation. Indian Oil, HB, crude oil, then Bharat Petroleum, Oil India Limited, all these are public corporation. ONGC, GSPC gas, all this comes under. So the main role of government companies in benefiting the general public. So what are the welfare measures that the government companies give to the general public? It gives employment to all level of people, be it skilled or unskilled, regularly. So it is providing employment opportunities regular throughout the year, and it works for general welfare with minimum profit. So the main aim of a private enterprise is earning profit, whereas the aim of the main public enterprise is to provide welfare measures to the public and protect the interest of the public. It provides the facility and subsidy products. So, let us see some of the advantages that these companies provide to the public in general. It is very easy to form a government company and can be easily formed under the Companies Act just by an executive decision of the government. Already we have seen it in the features. Internal autonomy. A government company can manage its affairs independently. It is relatively free from ministerial control and political interference in its day-to-day functioning. The third point is private participation. Through government company device, the government can avail of the management skills, technical know-how and expertise of the private company and foreign countries. For example, the Hindustan Steel Limited has obtained technical and financial assistance from the USSR, West Germany and UK for its steel plants at Bhilai, Rourkela and Durgapur. So look to the advancement that they are having. So that is the exchange of ideas from different countries. Easy to alter. So objectives and powers of the government companies can be changed by simply altering the memorandum of association of the company. You already know memorandum of association is one of the important documents that has to be maintained by a company without seeking the approval of the parliament. Even though it is government controlled, they need not seek any approval from the government in altering the memorandum of association. And there are different classes of memorandum also. You already have learned in the joint stock companies. Discipline, that is who are the management committee members. The government company is subject to provisions of the Companies Act, which keep the management of the company active, alert and disciplined. So since it is governed by the Companies Act, all the board of directors and the shareholders are very alert and active and disciplined. Professional management, that is another important advantage. A government company can employ professionally qualified managers because it has its own personal policies. So it can't follow autonomous rules and regulation. Autonomy in conducting the management, professional details and other things. Public accountability. The annual report of a government company is presented to the parliament or the state legislature. These reports can be discussed and debated there. So these are the 7 points that you have got as advantages. But besides these advantages, the government companies have also got certain disadvantages. These are the both sides of a coin. We can call it like that. If there are certain advantages, there are also certain disadvantages in all forms of organization, as we have seen right from sole trader to the government companies that we are seeing today. Board of directors packed with yes men. That is, these board of directors manage the company's affairs, but they only nod their heads to what the government says. On the board of directors of a government company, there are government appointed directors. Government being the major shareholder, that is the 51% of the shares are held by the government, who are yes men of the government. So they only say whatever the government says, they say yes. They don't oppose or refuse what the government policy or whatever the government says, they say yes, that's all. They are unable to run the company in a business like manner. So they don't, as such, we already know that these companies, they don't have a notion for profit motive. So they are not run for profit motive. The main aim of these government companies is also public wealth. Autonomy only in name. So namesake only, they have got freedom to manage the business, but actually they have lots of control. Independent character of a government company exists only in name. In reality, politicians, ministers, government officials interfere excessively in the day-to-day working of the government company. So because of this, sometimes the board of directors also are getting vexed because too much of anything is good for nothing. So, autonomy only in name. They are not given full freedom to exercise their skill or management talent or whatever it is. Then the third point is a fraud on Companies Act and Constitution. A company is criticized as being a fraud on the Companies Act and on the Constitution. This criticism is valid on the ground that the government can exempt a government company from application of several provisions of the Companies Act. Again, the parliament is not taken into confidence while creating a government company. So they don't have confidence. A fraud which is being committed by the Companies Act, they don't have confidence, and they have to prove that they have not committed any fraud. Fear of exposure. The annual report of the company is placed before the parliament and state legislature, and it is taken for discussion or debate. The working of the company is exposed to press criticism. As a result, management of the government company often gets demoralized and may not take initiative to come out with and implement something innovative. So these board of directors or the people who are managing, they don't come out with innovative ideas since they are always criticized, and they also fear to exposure. So we have already seen about Coal India Limited, Steel Authority of Limited, that is also a public corporation. Tamil Nadu State Corporation, State Transport Corporation Limited. The headquarters is in Chennai. Gas Authority of India, that is another example that we have seen in the previous slide, and it's headquartered at New Delhi. So let us go move on to the fifth demerit here. Lack of expertise in deputationist. The key personnel of a government company are often deputed from government department. So these deputationists generally lack expertise and commitment. So they lack expertise, they don't have efficiency, and they are not very much committed to their job or sincere to the job. leading to lower operational efficiency of the government company. As a result, what does the company face is they lower the operational efficiency because the board of directors or the person or the personnel who are deputed from the government, they don't have the required skill to control and manage the companies. Selfish functioning. The government company works neither for the government nor for the public at large. It serves the personal interests of the people who work in the company and who dictate policies of the company. So only namesake we say that it is an autonomous body. It has got autonomy to do or control or manage whatever the fact is. But in reality, it is not possible. So these are the important disadvantages that you should keep in mind when you are reading about government companies. So these 3 points, they are very major. It gives employment opportunity to all level of people, whether it is the lower cadre or the middle cadre or the upper cadre, executives level, be it skilled or unskilled regularly. It works for general welfare with minimal profit motive, and it provides the facilities, subsidy products. So, with this, we come to the end of the features, advantages, and disadvantages of company. Keep learning, children, and keep going.